Medical Research Institute, where Caroline B. has been trying to tell us more about this HIV viral load testing equipment. Let's take you live to Caroline.
Well, Ben, I've been speaking to Professor Matilu Mwau, who's a senior research officer here at KEMRI, explaining to us the levels of HIV in the country and the fact that it's quite a problem testing some of the samples. So he was actually in the middle of explaining that to us when we interrupted him. Maybe you can continue telling us, in terms of the burden of testing HIV as a country, where exactly are we?
Thank you. Perhaps you might be aware that the UNAIDS goals are 90, 90, 90. And the third 90 is that when people are taking treatment for HIV, then they should be 90% or more, let's say, should be virologically suppressed. In other words, if the treatment is working nicely, we check in your blood and you shouldn't find HIV particles beyond a certain level. Okay, it should be virologically suppressed. Now, KEMRI, as a research institution, is very strong on service delivery for those technologies that are very sophisticated and cannot be given out in normal laboratories. Okay, so looking at the third goal of the UNAIDS, that is the third 90, we know that there are approximately more than 1 million people on treatment for HIV in the country today. They want to know whether the drugs are working for them, and that's where we come in as laboratories. Okay, we want to take their blood samples and want to check whether they are virologically suppressed. Now, as it is right now, we know that perhaps there are people out there, maybe 400,000, we should think 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, who have HIV and do not know their status, that should be brought on board. And even those ones will require viral loads. So if you are looking at more than 1 million tests a year, you are looking at very high throughput technologies that can deliver thousands of tests a day. For instance, in this lab, we receive 3,000 samples a day. All right, out of which about 1,000 blood, wet blood or plasma, and about 2,000 filter paper samples. All right.
Maybe you can explain to us what is the difference between those two samples you're talking about?
Oh, thank you. If your health facility is near KEMRI lab, then it's easy for you to just draw blood from a patient, wet blood, maybe spin it down to the liquid component, that's a plasma, and bring it to us within a few minutes or a few hours, at least 2-3 hours, you brought it here. So there's no need for you to do dried blood spots, okay? Whole blood or, plasma is good enough, and our technology takes that. But if your facility is far away, and most are, some are even almost 1,000 kilometers or 700 kilometers, if your facility is that far, then we must innovate and look for ways of delivering that sample in a way in which the result will still be meaningful. The sample integrity is maintained. Luckily, science is very innovative. And a few years ago, it was discovered that if you take blood and take filter paper looks almost like blotting paper, right? And then you dry the blood there and you deliver it to a lab, even up to 6 months down the line, you still get a result that is accurate, okay? Special filter papers, they are sent out to facilities all over the country. They take their samples, ship them using a normal courier service to the lab, and the results that we get are accurate. And we get for something like 2,000 filter papers a day.
So for those two samples, how are they tested inside this state-of-the-art technology lab that you have called it?
Thank you. So for a normal person, maybe it's good for you to know that HIV is a virus, okay? And the thing that you're looking for when you're looking for HIV in your blood, we're looking for the genetic material, okay? And so therefore, we are doing what we call molecular testing, is at that level of testing. And what we do is we take the sample and this is a little bit, just to make sure that we've extracted that genetic material, put in the machine, and the machine runs, is an automated system that extracts the samples, extract the sample and identifies the genetic material, that it's HIV or not, and then counts the number of copies of that genetic material, and then gives you the result in a language that a doctor can understand. Okay. When the result is delivered, it's put up in the information management system and processed like a report, the way a patient gets a patient report. And then as guys look at the report, we are happy with it, approve goes on.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. That is Professor Matilu Mwau explaining to us how this lab actually works and how the machine in itself works. That is the Cobas 8800. It's the second such of a lab being installed in the country. There is one in South Africa. So that means the number of samples which are going to be tested are of a high level compared to previously. So back to you, Ben.
Thank you, Caroline. Caroline B. They are live for us at the Kenyan Medical Research